This presentation will be an overview of the ATU Research Department, how you can take advantage of the work we do, and how we have helped other locals. First, I want to start by saying that the ATU is a large union. We have more than 250 locals across the United States and Canada, and we have more than 580 collective bargaining agreements. These agreements cover workers in a wide range of industries: public sector, private sector, over the road. Locals rely on information from other bargaining units to inform their bargaining, and we rely on information just as much the same way from locals when we do our work here at the International. And because of the size of the union, I just want to stress that we rely on you to provide us with up-to-date information. When you finish contracts, when you have arbitration decisions, it's very helpful for you to send them in to us at the International so we can have them on file, both for our benefit and for the benefit of other locals in the union. Generally, the research department assists the union at all levels, from local officers to international officers and international staff. Our research supports organizing, bargaining, strategic campaigns, and other efforts undertaken by the union. We regularly monitor industry data, regulatory news, economic news, anything that's pertinent to our members. In this presentation, I'm going to walk us through a few examples of what the research department does. I'm going to show you our contracts and arbitration database, which is online and easily accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to talk about how the department has assisted locals in preparing for negotiations, in organizing campaigns, in grievance and arbitration hearings. We'll also talk a little bit about multinational corporations, whom some of you are certainly employed by. First, let's start with the contract and arbitration database. This database is available to all president business agents and financial secretary business agents in the ATU. It's available at an easy-to-remember web address, www.aturesearch.org. At this website, you will find hundreds of collective bargaining agreements from all locals of the union and thousands of arbitration decisions that will help you in your day-to-day work. When you go to the website, this will be the first page you see. If you're a new user, you'll want to click the link that says Register as a new user, noted with the red arrow. Once you've filled out your information, your application will be reviewed by staff here at the International to confirm your identity as an officer of your local union. Once your account has been approved, you'll receive an email and you're ready to get started. When you log in, you'll see a search page such as the one here. This one in particular is for our contracts database, but the arbitration database looks exactly the same. You'll see that there's a box that says Full Text Search, noted again by a red arrow. You can think about this particular search box as a Google search. You can put in any combination of words or a phrase, and the database will search through the text of all of the collective bargaining agreements on file. There are also a couple of other search options you'll see below. You can search by ATU local if you know of a specific local that you're interested in, or you can search by employer. But I would recommend, for simplicity, to use the full text search as much as possible. Here you'll see what a search result looks like. The first red arrow shows our search term. We've done a search for the phrase sick leave. And below you'll see the results from our search. On the left side you'll see hits and a number in blue. This represents how many times our particular term has shown up in a contract. So the more hits there are, the more likely there is to be discussion on this topic. The first contract from Local 1555 in Oakland had 268 hits for the phrase sick leave. The database will also show you a brief text summary of the document. You'll see the second red arrow is pointing to sick leave, which has been highlighted. So this gives you some sense of the context in which the phrase is being found within the document. You can click on all of these documents and it'll pull up a full version of the contract for you to leaf through. You can also download all of them as PDFs. I encourage all of you to register for the website, to do some searches, and to take a look at the functionality. Sometimes, if you need help looking for contract language, this could be a resource for you to come up with your answer in 5 minutes instead of contacting the International and waiting hours or days to get a response. I would encourage you all to take advantage of this when you're working on contract negotiations, to review language from other locals, and to help inform your proposals. Again, this is a quick resource, a powerful resource, and something that you can take advantage of to get answers quickly. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about how the research department helps locals prepare for negotiations. We do a wide range of things for our locals, many times depending on what they request of us. Commonly, we'll do help. Let me do that again.
Go ahead, start that again.
Yeah. One common request has been for bargaining unit surveys and analysis. We can take a look at your seniority roster, your wage rates, who's in your health insurance plan, who's in your 401k plan, and help you make decisions about what sort of proposals you'll put forward. We can also help locals with information requests, acquiring public documents that can be very helpful for you. A couple examples of these are revenue contracts for private sector locals with a contractor, or comprehensive annual financial reports, shorthand known as CAFRs, for public sector employees. We can also help draft requests for payroll, benefit enrollment, and other things that might be useful in your preparations. Additionally, we put together wage and benefit comparisons so that you get a sense of how your bargaining unit compares to other ATU locals. We can also put together contract language comparisons so that you can get a sense of language in other bargaining units. Finally, we can assist with the financial analysis of your employer. For public sector employees with public sector employers, the comprehensive annual financial report is the best source of information to determine the financial health of your employer. Excuse me. All public entities must publish CAFRs annually. Typically, when reviewing these CAFRs, it's helpful to have at least 3 years of documents at a minimum, preferably up to 5. This is important because the CAFRs help show trends. 1 year, let me do that again. This is important because the CAFRs help show trends. One individual year's report might show something particularly good or particularly bad, but without having the context of years prior or following, you won't really know how important that one specific year is. It could be an anomaly, or it could be part of a larger trend, but you need to look at more than 1 year to find out. Approved budgets can also be helpful, but they're not as helpful as the CAFR. A budget is really just management's idea or hopes for the year. It may not necessarily be how things turn out. The CAFRs will tell you exactly what happened in that year. It's a look back. It's not a guess looking forward. For the private sector, revenue contracts are often the best way to find out some financial information about your employer. These contracts define the relationship between your employer and the public body for whom they provide a service. The revenue contract can provide financial information, such as how much the company is being paid per hour of service it's providing, but it can also give you information about the company's responsibilities for service and maintenance. Sometimes the company will be required to submit regular reports to the public entity. These are also public documents that you should be requesting. You can find out a lot of information from these: how much the company is invoicing per month, if they're being charged penalties for not providing service, whether or not they're actually doing as much maintenance as you observe on the property. All of these can be powerful things, both at the table and with the public. So I would encourage you in the private sector to make public requests for your revenue contracts, and that request would be to the public body who's responsible for the service. And if you're in the public sector, to request several years worth of the comprehensive annual financial reports. Again, that's a public records request that you would put to the public entity. The International Research Department can assist you with either of these requests. The Research Department also assists locals who are interested in organizing. We've put together outlines of transit systems or new companies, detailing the extent of operations, the employer's financial situation, other unionization efforts, either from the ATU or by other unions, and also provided information on ATU units if it's an employer we're familiar with. We follow a lot of industry trends, so we might be able to assist with We follow a lot of industry trends and news, so we might also be able to assist with strategic targeting in your particular geography. Much of our work with organizing is done in conjunction with the Field Mobilization Department. The Research Department also assists locals with grievances and arbitrations. Again, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of arbitration decisions available at aturesearch.org, and you can use the same powerful text search as you did. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of arbitration decisions available at aturesearch.org. You can search them the same way that you search for contracts earlier in this presentation. I would encourage you, again, to sign up for the website and to take a look at what's available. If you're arbitrating a discipline or a contract interpretation, you might be able to find cases on the database that are helpful to your arguments. The research department also has access to other resources here to assist with things such as arbitrator selection or further topic research for your grievance or arbitration hearings. Oftentimes, we'll work in conjunction with the legal department to help review the facts of your case and to find helpful precedent. The research department also works closely with the JIC coordinators, the Joint Industry Council. We collect corporate documents, keep an eye on corporate news, and issue a monthly email bulletin about privatization news. We keep track of important companies like First Group, MV, Transdev. Many of you watching are probably employed by one of the companies on the screen. Finally, I would just pose a question to you. How can the research department help you? I would ask you to be proactive and think ahead. It's always easier for us to work on a project when there's 6 months before you enter contract negotiations than when you're heading in 6 minutes from now. Also, be creative. Just because you've never looked at a particular document, made a particular request, or done a certain kind of research doesn't mean it's not helpful, and it doesn't mean it can't help you this time around. As always, requests for assistance should be directed to the Office of the President. Good luck.